Hey guys, how's it going? So today I want to just touch base and go through a couple of applications that I use for AI and how I use them. This is April 2026. Some things are pretty new and exciting. I'm mostly showing this for the Mac Studio. If you have an Ultra, Max, M5, M4, M3, M2, M1, whatever, they will all work. The only caveat is some of the models are large in size, so just pay attention to your VRAM requirements. I'm going to go over some of the smaller versions, as well as for those of you who have 500 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, whatever, you guys will be able to run just a bit higher quality models versus the lower end ones. So you can definitely do this even with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but that's like the limit, honestly, guys. Try to get more. 16, 24, 32, you're pretty much fine with almost anything. 48, you're golden. And the more you get, the more you can run at the same time. All right, so the first application here, I have the stuff that I'm playing with is basically a replacement for Spotify. So if you have a Spotify subscription, go ahead and cancel that. I'm joking, but it is pretty cool. So what I have here is called AStep.cpp. And the way you get this is actually through the application called Pinocchio. So go ahead and search up Pinocchio, download it, the DMG, install it, drop it into your Finder like normal, and open it up. And you're going to get to a screen something like this without the applications, obviously. And on the right-hand side, you'll see Community. If you click that, there's going to be a ton of applications. It's basically like an app store for AI stuff. These are the top AI stuff currently. And one of them is Hermes Agent. Those are like your agents, kind of like OpenClaw. They go in on the background and do stuff for you. But we're not going to start there. We're just going to go with something called AStep. If you search up AStep here at the top, you'll see you have a varied selection. I've tried a couple of these, but not all of them work. The one that actually worked for me is no space AStep. And I don't know why, but the way you spell it very matters here. And as you can see, it didn't work for the other ones. The other ones didn't work for me. They had generation issues. Go ahead and install this one, AStep, no space in it. And once you get that up and running, it's basically a replacement for your music generation. So it's going to prompt you through an installation. You'll do that. You'll open your WebUI, and at the top here, you have a selection of models. So before we start generating, actually, go to your models here and make sure you select the ones appropriate for your system. There are smaller ones by default. Right now, it says Q8, 2.8 gigabytes. Plus, you also have to load the LLM loader, which is like your lyrics generator, your text encoder, and VAE encoder. So go ahead and select the ones that will fit into your VRAM. If you have a bunch of VRAM, obviously this doesn't matter. But you can click use which ones. There's a show all models button here, and you can select smaller versions in your use cases. The quality will be a bit different. I'm still new to this. The one I'm using right now is just the default Turbo Q8 version, and it seems to be good enough for me. Just to note, there is an Excel version that came out after this, which is a much higher quality. So you might want to take a look at that one as well. These are not the Excel versions. Okay, for creating stuff, all you have to do is name your song. Song 1, 2, 3. I played around with it just a bit here. Your lyrics will come in after you populate. So let's just say rock. Then we'll make sure that say that it's a rock genre, and type in anything that you want, like female lyrics, whatever. And after that, you'll be able to either click this button to fill in the lyrics manually. So there's an AI model that will go ahead and try to fill the lyrics in here. You can also paste lyrics in here that you want from a different AI model, etc. But as you can see here, it filled in this. You don't necessarily need this. It's just there for you. You can also type in your language. So for language, let's say we want English, obviously. And female beats per minute is how fast you want the song to be, like 180 to 200. This is a pretty fast song. Your key, you can just leave it auto. So all of this is auto. There's also like your other parameters here, like duration of the song. You know, you can make a longer song. You can make more inference steps. So the more steps, technically, the better quality. The default is 8. Usually I just stick with something like 14 or so. Guidance, shift. All of these are, you know, things that you don't necessarily need to experiment with at the model. Increase the sampling models. So all of these are there for you to play with. All you have to do is click create, and honestly, it's going to be ready in a couple of seconds here. I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of, you know, versions here. Here's the K-pop version. 어디서든 빛나는 내 look so clean 하늘부터 땅까지 I'm the dream scene 감춰볼 수 없는 glow yeah I'm supreme 누가 뭐래도 I'm the one team Right, so these are also trained on music that is copyright free. So any of these songs that pop up will also be copyright free. You also have a library here. So after you've generated all your songs, you can arrange them in your playlists, etc., and loop them around. You can also mix songs together if you have favorite styles of songs, but you want to like combine them, which I feel is the really cool trend, or really cool, like interesting thing to do, is like mix maybe heavy metal with some your favorite artists, and that will kind of splice them together into a new song. It might be something interesting to play around with, obviously. So that's my first application that I found pretty cool. And obviously it has to be LM Studio. It is the GOAT, greatest of all time. It is one of the applications created from Microsoft. They've been updating it continuously, patching it, contributing to the MLX community. Honestly, this is a pretty good application, even though it's closed source. The stuff that it lets you do is pretty cool. Once you get more advanced, obviously, there are other applications such as OMLX, which I'll cover, vMLX, and llama.cpp. But this is a great starting place. It will get you pretty far, pretty easy to download models. As you can see here, I'm running the Gemma 426 building parameter on here. And obviously the question that we all ask is, what's 2 plus 2? Use it as a calculator, use it to help you out. And it is for, also, if you really don't want to use this, you can ask it to create a calculator application. So here it went ahead and created it. And the way you look at it is going to Safari HTML viewer as the website, potentially. You can also paste that into your HTML and open it up. So the other way is just pasting it as a text document, saving it as .html, and opening it up and saving that if you want like a permanent HTML page. But here you can see, preview it, look that you can calculate stuff with it, like 50 plus 50, 100. Wow, okay. So that is amazing. We just made a calculator app and a UI for it, all with a Gemma on our computer without exiting our computer to the network. Nothing like that. It's all on the computer. All right, so some of the other things that LM Studio is really good at is serving it to your network. So why is this important? Is because if you want to use different UI, have it be an agent for other things, hint, hint, spoiler coming up, or you wanted to, use it with a different UI, obviously you need to serve it to your local network so that you can use it in other applications. So all it is a way for other applications to communicate between each other and access it. You can also access this from your MacBook or another computer. There is a new function here, although obviously you can do this through Tailscale. If you guys don't know what Tailscale is a really great application that merges all of your devices through your Google account so you can access them anywhere. But LLM Studio has a built-in kind of Tailscale in it now. So all you have to do is create an account, log in, and you can access your models from your other less powerful computer. So you can potentially get a Mac Studio and have a very cheap MacBook and then still log in and use all of your models that are on your Mac Studio. All right, so now that we've covered the serving portion of it, then we have the finding model portion. So this is also pretty interesting because the difference between LM Studio and some of the native MLX versions is it lets you to use a GGUF version as well as MLX version. The difference is GGUFs are more varied in availability. So if there is a specific version of a model that is custom built for storytelling, etc., you might not have a MLX version of it, and you would have to, create one yourself, which is, a bit time consuming. So potentially you can just grab a GGUF of something and run it with with LM Studio rather than some of the faster backends. So that is also a plus, but just so you know, the GGUF versions will be slower on your Mac devices than native MLX formats. Roughly, think of it, there's probably going to be like half the speed depending on the quantization, but just keep that in mind. All right, I know that Pinocchio has a bunch of different versions to use image generation, such as Comfy UI, there's Forge, Neo. All of these are really great at image generation. But honestly, I just want something quickly. I wanted to iterate a couple of times and be done with it instead of like setting it up for the next 2 hours. So this is a pretty good alternative. If the application on my screen is called a vMLX, all you have to do is go to the GitHub vMLX, download the application, and you're pretty much good to go. And remember, this is a chat interface, so you also are able to chat with the models here by selecting them, starting up a server. You can start up a server including the image models or the ones that you've downloaded. There are also different tools such as Jang. Jang means you can download a BF16 model or basically a full unquantized model from Hugging Face, and you can convert it to a lower or compress it like a zip file into a lower availability to fit it into your RAM. And as this is very good at compressing things to lower bits or between 2-bit to 4-bit, you'll get a better quality than just using native MLX, which is standard 4-bit across all of the parameters. This one breaks it down into 8-bit attention, 3-bit, everything else. And so you get a better quality compression and use case at smaller footprints. You can also start up your image server, which is what I'm using it for. Right now, I've downloaded ZImage Turbo, but just to keep a note, there are sizes here. So we have Flux now between 6 to 24 gigabytes of VRAM requirement. And the reason that there is a dash there is because you can either download the 4-bit version, 8-bit, or full best quality. So you can obviously download the 4-bit version and you'll be using about 6 gigabytes of VRAM total. So for those of you that have lower budgets for VRAM, this is pretty cool. There's also the option of ZImage Turbo, my favorite, honestly, which creates pretty good artwork, 4-bit to full as well. Those of you that want better quality, go with 24 or even 8. And those of you that want speed and honestly don't have the budget for the high quality, 4-bit will work for you. There are other ones such as FluxDev, FluxCline, and Qwen Image. So the best one so far is the Z Image Turbo, and the Qwen Image, if you can afford 40 gigabytes of VRAM, it is going to be much slower than your Z Image Turbo, about 6 minutes to generate one image at 28 steps to like 40 steps. However, the quality will be much better. You can also generate much larger sizes. There are also editing tools like Qwen Image Edit, Flux Context, and Flux Fill. These are editing software. So if you have not generated your base image with AI and you want to edit your existing image, you can do so with Qwen Image Edit or Flux Context, etc. Keep in mind there are sizes here. So starting from 6 gigabytes of VRAM all the way to 54 gigabytes with Qwen Image Edit. Honestly, let's just quickly jump in and see. I do have the full version here since I do have a bit of space here. And as you can see here, I've generated a picture of a dog at the top here, top left. And then I just want to demonstrate that to change the image, you can click Iterate. And what that means is you can adjust the image. Why is it not starting? Start it. Session is already running. Oh, oops. Let me just go in there. There we go. My apologies. So you can click Iterate, and there's a strength slider here, which means how much of the original image bleeds through to the next image. Setting this too high will basically not generate anything new in the next image. So you would have to slide it down. In this case, I tried 50 or 50%, 0.5, and the dog does not still have sunglasses, even though I've indicated to add sunglasses. I had to slide it down to 0.3, so leaving only 0.3 of the previous image. In with 4 steps, the Z Image Turbo did generate sunglasses on the dog. So you can actually edit stuff. Just play around with the strength. Depending on the strength slider, it might change the prior image too much for your liking, such as here, the dog actually changed form at 0.3 when I tried to add a cat. But if I put strength to 0.4, the dog didn't change much. The only difference is the tail there at the end did change a bit, but it did add a cat even with that. You can also change the size and shape of your images, such as so. We can, let's say, generate a new image of a ship. And you will see in real time how fast this is. It normally takes about 10 seconds to generate an image on Mac Ultra 3. So you might get similar performance on your M5 processors. So as you can see here, you've generated the ship. You can choose the size. You can also adjust the size, but with advanced, and choose your width and height, going up to like 1500 or something. 2000. I don't remember if this actually works at 2000. I have a suspicion that it might not. There are obviously better links online where you can look up the resolution for 2:3 and scale up by that. The model does want specific resolution ratios. So just clicking 2000 and 1200 might not actually do it. Good job. As you can also see, the memory requirement jump up. If you want to increase the height and width of the resolution, Also, you can decrease it for less memory requirements. Also, as you can see, it does take quite a bit more time between 10 seconds at 1024 by 1024 to 12800 by 2000. It took 42 seconds. So just keep in mind that it does take longer when you want larger images as well as a bit more VRAM there. Now, let us go and look at Qwen Image. Honestly, Qwen Image is much better at generating complex scenes as well as high resolution. However, at 20 steps, preferably 40 steps, it takes a long time to even generate anything. So I tend to only use the Qwen image when I really need some sort of quality. Otherwise, a Z image turbo is pretty cool to just generate a couple of stuff here and there, icons, PNGs. All right, so this is mostly what I use this app for. I also just want to mention that you can obviously cast this to the network, so other applications or agents can use this. So yeah, there you go. That's for image generator. Now let's go to the next app. The next application that I use quite a bit is WebUI. It is classic, honestly. If you're not using this for a business, this is something definitely to be used. Now, there is some controversy for WebUI. All you have to do is click and open it. It will open in your Safari here, such as so, and you'll get a interface similar to ChatGPT or any of the other interfaces you're mostly familiar with. But other than llama.cpp, you get access to some of the searching engines, like accessing the internet, as well as some custom functions, etc. So it is a bit more advanced than LM Studio native chat interface. It also, you're able to access other backends such as MLX, as well as LM Studio. So this is the default interface that I currently use to access other models, although I haven't been using it for quite some time because of agents. Now, let me quickly show you how this works. All you have to do is set it up by connecting it through your settings, administrator settings, connections, and you're going to be adding a open WebUI connection, which you can find either in your Tailscale or in your LM Studio. So for example, LM Studio, you'll see that this is reachable at this. You will copy it and obviously paste it as such with a V1 at the end. Normally it will tell you V1 already there. Once you click save, you're going to get a list of models that are currently in your LM Studio or other backend. And after you've done so, you will be able to create a new chat and select the model. Currently, I believe I have loaded this one, and I can just type hello, and it will respond, as you can see here. Now, this is not a default indicator where it's indicating the model tokens per second speed, but you can obviously customize this quite a bit with other people's functions or write them yourself. Now, there's also a side panel here, which you can customize the inference settings and play around with them, figure out what they mean, what the functions are. There are automatic inference adjustment settings such as mirrorstat, which is not in most of the UI interfaces, but this one does have it. So you can send it to LM Studio, and LM Studio does support this setting. There are other settings you can play around with, or custom ones if you want to just add a custom parameter. All right, so this is a pretty cool. You can also click integration and a web search, and once you do that, it will go ahead and try to search for stuff on the internet. You can also have a sub agent. So honestly, this is pretty feature rich. And to just talk to the model, this is pretty interesting. And obviously, if you ask it for code, it will also generate code, but the default here that I said is a search for it. So unfortunately, it's going to go and try to search for it first. As you can see, Gemma 4 is very fast at chatting and should be able to generate some sort of code for us. And there it goes. You can also say wrap in HTML. And so what that means is you can save the full HTML in your text editor, name it .html, and open it in any browser if you don't want to use the preview browser. But in this case, you can literally just copy this, go to like SVG previewer, paste that in, and you'll get like a butterfly. All right. So that is one of the other apps that I use quite a bit to test out models. And here's the next one. All right, so the next app here I have is actually a variant of MLX LLM, and it is called OMLX. Now, so for those of you that want to use Claude Code and Open Code and other such things as agentic frameworks, you really do need a lot of things to support. One of the things is caching. So the prompts have to be cached continuously and regenerated through the software so that you're not wasting a bunch of time just waiting for it to pre-fill again. Now, this does have a caching system which stores this on either internal SSD or external SSD, which I've set up here. I'm using pretty cheap external SSD, which works pretty well. And as you can see, I'm using about 88 gigabytes on the external SSD, caching my prompts so that they pre-fill pretty quickly. Now, there are also options specifically designed for either the Claude or OpenAI endpoints. You also have the full, complete fix for Claude Code. So if you want to use local Claude Code, it will cast the three models, such as the Opus tier, Sonnet tier, and Haiku tier, to your local network. So the application called Claude Code will pick those up and start using them all together. However, I don't think this actually works for me. You have to pick some of the smaller models, even on 500 gigabytes of VRAM loading 3. It's pretty complicated. You also have codecs here, OpenCode and OpenClaw. All of them work brilliantly. And as you can see, the engines that are currently running here are MLX LM, VLM, embeddings, and audio. And basically, this whole system is designed to seamlessly download for new users. There's no terminal access here. Install the models and cache them and then serve them to a different application. So primarily this application is used with other applications such as Open Code, all of these other ones, also Hermes Agent, which we'll cover next. Now, as you can see, there's also a section here to download the different models, which will same as LM Studio, but they are limited to MLX versions because this is using the MLX backend. There's also a quantization feature. So if there is not a model that you specifically need, you can download it and quantize it on your system itself. And it is similar to the unsloth dynamic ones. However, you do need a couple. I think you do need a pass with the model itself loaded in. You can do a pass as long as you can load the model or a quantized model. You can do a different kind of quant. Now, there is also settings. You can set up the model, the default model. In this case, I want the default to be, I believe, the new GLM5 5.1. There's logs, there's great benchmarks. So there is a community that measures the benchmarks of all the different models as well on the different kinds of Macs. And you can go ahead and check out what if you bought a different kind of Mac and compare them. There's also benchmarks for intelligence, which is kind of important because if you quantize your own model, then you might have screwed up at some point. So you need to check that it still works. So you can run these benchmarks and check the model. I've done so a couple of times. It takes so long time. So also just make sure if you're actually like doing this live code bench, you kind of have to do quite a bit of like the default 100 is not going to get you the same score as the online versions. You have to pretty much do either like 300 or full to get a good set of tests in there. So the only thing you can compare to apples is if you run the full BF16 version with the same presets and then rerun the quantized version with the other presets. Now, unless somebody else has done the BF16 version, you have to match however many samples they've done. So if it's like 1,000, you will get a different score. If, by chance, 50% of the questions that you're asking them in 30 questions is all wrong versus 1,000, maybe 1,000 of them are right and the 30 are still wrong. So just keep that in mind when you're doing benchmarks, guys. So yeah, this is like one of the best serving ways to serve your AI model to your local network with amazing caching. Now, to use this with other stuff, I obviously have OpenClaw on a different computer, and I'm using other agentic frameworks. But the one that you can install pretty easily and is kind of user-friendly is actually called Hermes Agent. Now, Hermes Agent is a framework where it communicates with you either through the terminal here, and it's going to be a bit intimidating. And obviously, it's an error because trying to find the model that I have not served. All right, so the last thing that I use these days is called Hermes Agent. Now, Hermes Agent is pretty interesting because it's one of the agentic frameworks that kind of works. Honestly, there are other agentic frameworks like OpenClaw as well as Agent Zero. So all three of those are pretty good to use as an agent with local models or cloud models. So what the difference is between the Hermes agent and OpenWebUI, for instance, is that Hermes agent is able to go ahead and interact with its environment to build things for you that you can then develop, or it can then develop into new skills, such as search, or in this case, I've asked it to generate some sort of backend so I can use it with OpenWebUI. So I can connect it and it will just respond through OpenWebUI or other applications. Currently, I've set it up with Telegram, so I just ping it, kind of like WhatsApp or Telegram, just have a chat with it and it will get back to me with information or do things for me, scheduling stuff, etc. So why this is cool is because now you have access to not only a basic model that can't really do things other than 2 plus 2 and generate some sort of script where then you interact with it. This has the ability to chain itself into longer contexts to build applications or useful features that will then help you in your everyday life. So the question is always, what can the AI do? Well, once you stick it into this kind of agentic framework, then it can basically almost do anything that a computer can do, or you can do at the computer.